Sup guys, in this video I'll be giving you my first impressions of the new idol ships. I won't be reading all the stats and skills out loud, but I'll leave a link to the data mine in the description in case you haven't already seen it. Okay, let's get right into it. First up, we have Formidable Mew. She's just a regular carrier with a preloaded airstrike if you have 3 Mew faction ships in the fleet. She still has a route, but the activation is tied to her executing an enemy, and I have a pretty hard time seeing how that would be useful, so I'm just gonna pretend that it doesn't exist. Her timed barrage is also not particularly strong, so yeah, that's pretty much it for her. Next up is Prince Eugen Mew. She still has the incredibly bulky stats of the original version, but her first skill sacrifices some of her bulk for some damage. In fact, she's no longer a particularly good tank at all anymore. Compared to her base version, she has much improved firepower and torpedo stats, as well as a lot of new damage buffs. Adding on top of that, hiding from plain sight, is that both her timed barrage and all-out assault have pretty high base damage numbers, further boosted by her solid firepower and all the buffs. As far as heavy cruisers go, I don't think you're going to find one with better barrages than her. Not only that, but her all-out assault is also aimed. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any shield-ignoring mechanics, so her damage will be hindered quite a lot by them, but in comparison to other heavy cruisers of her rarity, I'd say she's closer to the likes of Drake and Karl than Prince Hinrich. All in all, a pretty nice glow-up. Next up is Noshiro Mew. Similar to Eugen, she is also slightly less tanky, but much stronger than her base version. 2 things in her kit stand out in particular. First is the debuff from her second skill, which is a 40% increase to all torpedo damage. Tanikaze has a similar effect, but unlike Tanikaze, Noshiro's is guaranteed, and since it's not tied to her own torpedoes, she doesn't necessarily have to be in the first slot, although even if she did, she would make for a better tank than Tanikaze. Keep in mind that the debuff works for submarine torpedoes as well, but not for torpedo bombers from carriers. Aside from her massive torpedo buff, she is also hiding an insane amount of damage in her barrages. Her all-out assault fires 4 torps that deal 206 base damage each, which is as much as the quad 610 torpedo mount. Keep in mind that this barrage also scales to her torpedo stat, which is much higher than her firepower, so you can't directly compare it to similar but firepower scaling barrages. Since it's a barrage, it won't benefit from her 180% torpedo efficiency like actual torpedoes do. But if you compare it to other torp barrages, say the one from her base version, this new one's torpedoes deal over 4 times the damage of the original one. Her timed barrage fires twice the torpedoes, at around half the damage compared to the one fired by her all-out assault, so it is similarly powerful. But the 70% activation chance has me a little annoyed, and same with Eugen's timed barrage as well, which I didn't mention. Unfortunately, she's not one of those rare light cruisers that can equip destroyer guns, so you won't be able to abuse the 76mm on her. The fastest light cruiser gun is the single 150, but it has never really been fast enough to warrant using over the Plymouth gun. We'll have to see if that remains the case even with this new barrage. And I believe that's it for Noshiro. Exceptionally powerful barrages and torpedo buffer. Next up, I'll cover both Boise and Congo. Both of them have weak barrages and some buffs. Not the most complex kits in the world and nothing too powerful. After that, Latem actually has a decent heal, but her stats are just way too low to make her a good pick in any situation. And finally, we have Shinano-chan. She's an SR, so obviously not going to be particularly strong, but in any case, Oath, Protect, etc. Okay, now let's move on to the Auxiliaries. The first one changes the BGM, which is the same as the old Idol Event Mic Auxiliaries. The other 2 are just toolbox side grades, and their effects last for only 15 seconds, so the shorter the battle is, the better they are. Okay, that should be all for this update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.